There are a lot of things that seem different about voting in the 2020 US election. Interest in voting is high, but so is worry about the COVID pandemic and fears that a possible transfer of power may not be 100% peaceful. While analysts say voter turnout this year may be the highest in decades, nearly half of registered voters expect the process to be difficult, compared to only 15% 2 years ago.
But just because it's going to be different doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be worse or more disrupted. For most Americans, the process will be smooth.
As more people than ever before vote by mail-in ballot, there are fears that the system may not be able to keep up. Despite these concerns, it's important to remember that the US does have the tools to ensure everyone can vote in this year's election. Mail-in ballots are not new. They've been around for 150 years. But in response to the pandemic, almost every state has expanded mail-in voting, and many states have extended the traditional early voting periods. And despite claims of attacks on the United States Postal Service and the shutting down of many drop-off locations, more people have already voted early or by mail than ever before. But what will happen on November 3rd if all these mail-in ballots haven't been counted yet?
I think it's actually quite likely that on election night itself, we might not know the results of several close states, which means we might not know who's actually won on election night. That itself does not mean the system is broken. That means it's working.
Since the rise of cable news, Americans have expected to know on election night who their next president will be.
When people watch the news and they see the countdown timer and they say the polls are closing in 5, 4, 3, 2, what comes next is just a guess based on exit polls, based on the ballots that have been tallied thus far. The official results always take 2 to 3 weeks for people to dot I's and cross T's and actually count the ballots that come in.
This year's election night guess will be particularly inaccurate. There will be fewer people at the polls, and a shortage of poll workers due to the pandemic will make counting even slower. That means the media has to be very careful in how it reports the news.
It's going to be really important for the media to be more restrained than they have a tendency of being in jumping to conclusions and in setting expectations. Right? The expectation that when they count down 5, 4, 3, polls close, that they'll then immediately be able to put up a red bar or a blue bar on the screen. I think it's really important for them to realize that they can do something else with that programming to keep viewers informed without setting up the high stakes battle and then having to deliver an answer they're not sure of.